North Richmond Street, being blind, was a quiet street except at the hour when the Christian Bro School set the boys free. An uninhabited house of 2 stories stood at the blind end, detached from its neighbors in a square ground. The other houses of the street, conscious of decent lives within them, gazed at one another with brown, imperturbable faces. The former tenant of our house, a priest, had died in the back drawing, air musty from having been long enclosed, hung in all the rooms, and the waste room behind the kitchen was littered with old useless papers. Among these I found a few paper-covered books, the pages of which were curled and damp. The Abbot by Walter Scott, The Devout Communicant, and the Memoirs of Vita. I liked the last piece because its leaves were yellow. The wild garden behind the house contained a central apple tree and a few he had straggling bushes, under one of which I found the late tenant's rusty bicycle pump. Been a very charitable priest. In his will, he had left all his money to institutions and the furniture of his house to his sister. When the short days of winter came, dusk fell before we had well eaten our dinners. When we met in the street, the houses had grown somber. The space of sky above us was the color of ever-changing violet, and towards it the lamps of the street lifted their feeble lanterns. The cold air stung us, and we played till our bodies glowed. Our shouts echoed the silent street. The career of our play brought us through the dark, muddy lanes behind the houses where we ran the gauntlet of the rough tribes, from the cottages to the back doors of the dark, dripping gardens where odors arose from the ash pit, to the dark, odorous stables where a coachman smoothed and combed the horse or shook music from the buckled harness. When we returned to the streetlight from the kitchen windows that filled the area, if my uncle was seen turning the corner, we hid in the shadow until we had seen him safely housed. Or if Mangan's sister came out on the doorstep to call her brother into his tea, we watched her from our shadow peer up and down the street. We waited to see whether she would remain or go in, and if she remained, we left our shadow and walked up to Mangan's steps resignedly. She was waiting for us, her figure defined by the light from the half-open door. Her brother always teased her before he obeyed, and I stood by the railings looking at her. Her dress swung as she moved her body in the soft rope of her. When she came out, I ran to the hole, seized my books, and followed her. I kept hair tossed from side to side. Every morning I lay on the floor in the front parlor watching her door. The blind was pulled down to within an inch of the sash so that I could not be seen. I on the doorstep, my heart leaped. On Saturday, her brown figure always in my eye, and when we came near the point at which our way diverged, I quickened my pace and passed her. This happened morning after morning. Had never spoken to her, except for a few casual words. And yet her name was like a summons to all my foolish blood. Her image accompanied me even in places the most hostile to romance. Evenings, when my aunt went marketing, I had to go to carry some of the parcels. We walked through the flaring streets, jostled by drunken men and bargaining women, amid the curses of laborers, the shrill litanies of shop boys who stood on guard by the barrels of pig's cheek, the nasal chanting of street singers who sang a Kamalu about O'Donovan Rosa, or a ballad about the troubles in our native land.